Hello
Everyone,
and welcome. Hi, Scott.
let me get Leela co-hosted. Oh no, you moved.
I think it's the first time we've seen Scott here.
Hello. Yes.
Good to have
Also,
you.
also Tamara. Okay. Hello. Welcome.
And tomorrow,
Oh,
yeah.
hi.
Good to see you. Like camera. Yeah. Thank you, Tamara.
Hey,
Sorry.
Harlan. The funniest thing is I read it and in my head I heard Tamara like Kamara. And it was like it took it was like no, that's a word, camera. And then
I think we should pronounce all names wrong as well. So we have Halan
Harlan.
and we got Sandia and Daron
Scott.
and Scott.
Scott.
Scott
Scott.
and Patty and Leila.
That one sounded still kind of right.
No, Leila. No,
How-
Leila.
Le,
Leila.
le,
It's how we send it. I can just call you by your Danish
yeah, that
names.
works.
Yeah, that works. None of you would react. It's so good to see you. Oh, we got some people
Oh,
in here.
sorry. I got it.
So good to see you. Hi, Orlena.
Hi,
Hi, Rowena. Good to see you.
Hello.
thinking of you always, Pernille.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Maureen.
Maureen, thank you so much for all your what's it called? Um timestamps.
Oh, amazing. Thank you.
You have been diligent. My goodness, thank you.
Well, it's going to be slow progress because I have to be up to that particular lesson to do that. So, but I'm happy to do it, and I'm happy for myself because it makes it really easy to go back, and
Yeah.
so I think it'll be helpful for others too.
Yeah, it really is. It's so helpful. Maureen has made
It's, a,
3 videos so
oh,
far.
it's amazing. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
It's
timestamps
incredible.
on 3. It's so
Yeah.
helpful because when you have watched the video and you got like there was a talk on Discord or where was that video where she talked about this and that, and I didn't see it until way later. Then it's so much easier for people to go back and just look through the timestamps and go like, here it is, and then just click on it. So it's so helpful, so
Yeah,
super
well,
helpful.
it's my
Yeah,
pleasure.
yeah.
And Harlan, thank you so much for, all of the work that you've been doing. And I saw that you sent me an email last night or yesterday, and I apologize. I've been sick for a week, and I had three back-to-back sessions yesterday, and did not have the energy to actually open the email. But today, after this, later on, I will check that out and get back to you. But thank you for everything so far.
Harlan, he's right now making a transcript of videos so it can be turned into like handbook. What do you call it? Handbook.
Like a book. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, like books of the videos. So it's a super help, Harlan. He's really sitting and playing with AI
mm,
to make the best translation. Normally transcripts do not pick up on my accent, so it's like completely bizarre the translations that are made. So it's super helpful what Harlan is doing as well. So we're really grateful for
Good.
that. Yeah.
uh,
Can I just wanted to mention one thing. I was texting or communicating on the on Discord with Maureen about the work she did with the transcripts, which I'm sorry, with the timestamps, which are awesome. But other thing though, is that they can't go or they shouldn't go in a user's post. They should go in the
Yes.
in the description because otherwise, if they're not in the description, the search algorithms or the indexing algorithms of YouTube won't pick up the titles of the timestamps. And
uh,
if they are picked up, they'll be when people do a search in YouTube for something that matches or is close to what the title of a timestamp is or the label of a timestamp, it will bring them to your video.
Video.
So you'll
Yeah,
pick up new users a lot quicker than
that's
so I
amazing.
don't know whether you have somebody who already
No, no,
manages.
no. Normally what I do is that when people do the timestamps, I take them and put them into the description of the video, which I will be doing.
You'll do that. Okay, so
Yes,
you'll just
yes.
grab it out of the post,
Yeah,
Maureen's
yeah,
post, and
exactly.
then
Exactly. Exactly. It just
okay,
hasn't happened.
great.
Just hasn't happened yet.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
That's actually new information for me, so thank you.
Mhm.
That's really good to know.
Yeah, super good to know.
I also wanted to mention that it's really easy to do timestamps. So if anybody is watching videos, because there's so many and I won't get to them for a long time. So if you can just note the time of a particular section of interest, even if it's just one section that jumped out at you, even if it's not that you were intentionally listening with that desire, if you put it into when you put it in the comment and you write it the way it is in the video, with the number and the colon and the other numbers, then when you enter your comment, it changes its color and it becomes a link. Like when you're writing your comment, it looks like, oh, this isn't working because it's all looking in gray text. But when you enter it, then the timestamps jump out in a different color. And if you click on them, then so it's really easy for anybody to participate um,
Yeah.
in adding to it.
And it's also helpful. Another thing I also want to emphasize, it was Raven that said that. Um, the first thing is about that when you watch a video, if you like it, it's going to be the YouTube algorithm is going to use it as a suggestion for people that are in your demographic, which means it's super helpful for us that our videos are being suggested, but you need to like the video for YouTube to pick up on that. And then another thing is, if you write a comment, make sure it's 7 words because apparently it doesn't count if it's less than 7. So just anything where it's 7 words. Yeah, I can't
Yeah,
come up with anything. Great,
yeah.
I like this video
No, no, not
a
so
lot.
also
I can't.
video.
Yeah, no, exactly. So 7 words or more in a comment that helps as well for the video to be recommended in people in your demographic. So, and I just want to say thank you so much for the community to really be diligent in reading up and watching videos on all of this, how to help us and support us the best with YouTube algorithms and all that. It's so kind and helpful. So thank you so much.
All right. So
Yeah.
I think, first of all, thank everyone. Thank you to everyone for being here. We're both a little bit off. I think Pernille has been in the altered state of grief for the past week,
Yeah.
and we've both been sick and in that kind of
So
so
it's
we're here.
it's snot and sadness on this
Yeah.
side of the camera, and that is what we're bringing to the table today.
But
So happy you're here.
but on that note, I think we would normally have some sort of meditation or something, but I think we're going to get right into the questions today
Yeah.
and just jump right into it. So for the new people, so glad to have you here. Welcome. Um, Basically, it's a very open community. You can just raise your virtual hand if you go to
Reactions.
reactions and raise your little virtual hand if you have a question or a comment. We'll call on you in order. Um, Feel free to bring up anything, ask anything. If there's something that you don't want to be recorded, just let us know ahead of time and we can pause the recording. Um, no concern there. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
basically.
And then yeah, also just saying that 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 even though we're snotty and I still have this full body grief experience, um we wouldn't cancel because this is very much who we are. We're very down to earth and authentic. We don't have, what would you say, a
veneer,
persona that we need to keep up with and look good on the
I
outside
have
and
eternal health.
yeah, anything like that. We are very, very human and also find it very helpful just to be authentic because everybody is experiencing sickness and death and grief. And so for us not to address it when it's present in our lives, that would just be inauthentic. So sometimes you have us like we are today, and sometimes we're not like we are today. It's very much like it is to be human. Um, and if any of you sit and go like, oh no, now I feel bad for being here, and they shouldn't, and they should be, Debbie, you can just pack it away. Um, because we're adults and we're choosing to be here. We're choosing to to be here, and we're really, really happy to share our Tuesday morning with you guys. So it's all good. It's all good. And then we have Brandon as the first one.
Yeah, we're both using the pad at the same time. I don't think it knows. I think you can determine.
Hey.
It's a bit like driving, isn't it?
really
You
is.
can only have one driver.
Hold on a second.
Not choose video.
Spotlight
Spotlight.
for
There
everyone.
we go.
Hold on, let
And
me
then
spotlight
Brandon.
you. Spotlight. Hey,
Here we go. Hello,
good
Brandon.
to see you.
All right. Hi, guys. Thank you for being here. And I want to say I'm so sorry for your loss, Pernille.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate all that you guys do. You guys and people like you have been I don't know what I would have done without you in this process. It's been quite something for me. So I actually wanted to ask you, I posted in the Discord asking about this, and I am aware that map making, like there is really no, whatever is going to be, regardless of what I think about it or if I have a mental map or not or whatever. My experience was, just to give you some brief background, that 20 years ago, I had a awakening that I think was pretty deep. And coming back off the honeymoon, my ego was just panic attacks. I mean, debilitating panic attacks. It was terrified. Like, so and this was before YouTube, before I had really any resources. I was 20. I didn't know that there was more to this thing, right? I just knew that, like, I came back after that experience of like, oh, you can never lose this. How could you ever lose reality, right? Then the aperture closes back down and I'm left. The ego's trying to grasp at it. And then whatever, eventually I realized, like, I'm not going to get it back by grasping at it on some level. But to fast forward, 7 months ago, I had, what I experienced was the aperture opened wide up again. All my fear, it's everything, every place that I was holding started to flood to the surface. It started to shoot up. I started to get terrified. The ego started to get terrified. I came up against this fear barrier that I've been coming up against in meditation for 20 years or whatever. And seemingly insurmountable, right? Like, there's no way that I could ever say yes to going through this. What happened was something let go. Something was like, all right, it's going to happen. We're going through it. And something said, okay. It said, okay, I'll die. And so in the past 7 months, that was 7 months ago, every place that I've ever been holding, all my childhood trauma, everything is coming to the surface, just terror. It's been something. It's taken me far beyond what I thought I could ever survive. Not to scare anyone. Just to preface this, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Even though it's been as hard as it's been. So my question is, just to give you guys a little context, I think that what happened just by, over the past 7 months, trying to kind of piece together what happened was, it seems like the eighth fetter fell. in that moment. Which I didn't, before that happened, I had no idea about fetters or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know that the seventh fetter
Mm.
has fallen.
Mm.
So I was wondering if you guys have ever seen that happen, because it seems, I know, Pernille, you say that it's nonlinear, like it's, you know, all over the place.
Mm.
From a lot of other people that I've seen, maybe not a lot, from at least one, Angelo, who I really respect and trust, and he's been an incredible, his material, I don't know him personally, his material on YouTube has been just an incredible resource for me as well. But it seems like, and I could be wrong in my interpretation of this, it seems like, according to him, I don't know that he's seen the eighth fetter fall before the seventh fetter. And again, that could just be my interpretation, but I was wondering if you guys have ever seen that. And I'll shut up now. Thank you.
Yeah. Before I reply, I would just like to circle back to your experience first, because I think your experience is more important than which fetter you're in, because the fetters are just concepts that we use to describe different types of identification. So which fetter is falling is not really relevant. It's useful to say, it would be a good idea for you to go back to the material of this and that fetter. So therefore, it's useful to have the concepts. But I think what you're experiencing right now, and since the last 7 months, the way that I understand it, that is so alive in you, that see if you can not go into your intellectual understanding of it, because you're distancing yourself from the experience. And I do understand that you need a breather once in a while. It is a lot when all childhood trauma is just surfacing. Have you done the second fetter?
I don't know. I didn't
No.
formally do any
Okay.
fetter work.
In if you go to the curriculum, in the second fetter, there is so much material that is helping you with navigating
Now,
childhood
can I
trauma.
use a credit card or
Oh,
just cash or credit card?
somebody is.
Hold on,
Yeah, good.
You just mute everyone first.
You got my, yeah.
mute
You tap
all.
it
Patty,
like
it's Patty.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
I got everybody muted.
Okay. In the second fetter, you have so much material that is helping you with childhood trauma. And what is happening in the second fetter, that you are really being put in a position where I'm holding you in your hand while we look at childhood experiences and we feel into the body of how it actually feels. It gives you tools to kind of like pull yourself up from the experience and see things as if it's a play. So where right now you are like in the midst of the of the of the maze, where you have like dragons and mom and dad all around you, and you're almost drowning with all the memories and everything that is coming up. When you do the second fetter, you're kind of like going up to the fifth floor and looking down on the maze, looking down on the dragon, looking down on mom and dad and how they acted. So you get kind of like your head above water. Because when we are in the experiences that you're in right now, it feels like drowning. Anxiety is where the entire body is reacting, and it can be a sound that triggers, and all of a sudden you have, the pulse here, and you almost cry and you shake and everything, just by a sound or just by a smell or just by anything. And it only happens because you now are in a position where you are psychological mature to deal with all this stuff. You weren't when it happened, but you are now. You're now emotionally mature to deal with all stuff. You weren't when it happened, but you are now. So you need proper tools, and you have that in the second fetter material in the curriculum. There are also, if you're on Discord, there are so many people in there that are going back. Also people where all 10 fetters have dropped. But they keep going back to the second fetter over and over and over, because it's another peel of the onion. It's another layer and another layer. And you just see things differently when you do that material. So my recommendation to you would be, stay where you are right now. I know it's a tall ask because it's not fun to be you at the moment. But stay where you are right now. See if you can move it from the intellectual understanding of it and get into the body, and just, can you be in a body where this is happening? Can you be in a body where the pulse is thumping in your throat and you get clammy hands? Just feel into, okay, breathe, breathe, breathe. Can I be here? Can I be here? Can I be here? Because you didn't have a protective dad and a loving mother when it happened. You have that now in you. You can be standing, with a Brandon dad and a Brandon mom on each side of you and just be with you in this experience that you have right now, over and over and over. Can I be in a body where this is happening? And you just experience it over and over, not divert in any way, but just stay here, stay here, stay here. And I promise you, when you do that, it takes 7 to 11 seconds and then it's done. The reason why it's dragging along is that you keep diverting from it, going into thought or um, drinking, smoking, running, exercising, whatever, to divert from it because it feels like it's too much. But it's the child in you that it was too much for. It's not too much for you, Brandon. Here now, you can do this. You know.
Thank you. And I feel like with that death that happened, any ability for me to dissociate is gone. It was gone. And that's been my practice. I mean, intuitively, I know as hard, challenging, uncomfortable as this is, intuitively, I know this is what needs to happen and it's okay.
Yeah.
And my practice has been one of exactly that, feeling the sensations in the body, regardless of what the mind is saying.
Exactly.
And there's been, it almost seemed like this opened up a whole nother dimension of surrender, or an ability to surrender, or just to live from the place that is already surrendered. But it's,
and then to answer your question whether the 8th can fall before the 7th, I would say absolutely yes, it can, because the 8th fetter in the first fetter you have the believing of a self, the belief that I am my identity, I am my name, I'm my gender, I am my body. How I am in the world can be seen in how other people see me. So there's that full identification with everything here. When that drops and we really realize that there is no I anywhere, there are biochemical processes, psychological patterns. It's basically depending on how we slept during the night, if we have had caffeine or not, how we are in the world is based on our biochemical experiences. Chemistry always wins. So when we really realize that there is no I anywhere, then we can work with the 8th fetter, which is a more subtle type of identification, because in the 8th fetter we drop all beliefs. So all beliefs drop. The belief of a you is gone. The belief of anything bigger than you or beyond you, a belief of a God, or a belief of the universe having your back, or a belief of I can do this, or a belief of, all beliefs drop in the 8th fetter. And that can happen whenever we're ready for that. The 7th fetter, it's more it's where we still create something out of nothing. It's where we still believe I can do something. So I got this. I can do this. I can work with this. Where we still create something out of nothing. In the 7th fetter, we realize I have no agency whatsoever. There is no I to do anything. Things happen completely beyond my will. That's the one part of the 7th fetter. The second part is the delusion of time is seen through, which means you understand this is not linear at all. Time is not the past, present, and future. It's not horizontal, it's vertical. Or it could be vertical. I'm not saying that it is vertical, but time is just another dimension, just like width and depth and height. And when that drops, you're able to look at your past, not as your past, but as your present, which means that you can take Brandon here to the past where you were 5 and something happened and you were scared and you felt alone, and you can cross time. So it's not, because it's not linear, it's vertical, that you are here with Brandon 5 years old and Brandon 80 years old. You're here with all of it, and that completely dissolves any feeling of powerlessness and lack of love and anything that we can create that we think we have had in our lives. Those barriers are just dropped. So there is no low self-worth anymore, because it's just a concept we have created and believed in over and over. That can't be, because there's no I, so there's no one to be with a low self-worth. And that is what is dropping in the 7th fetter. So the 8th fetter is more about the beliefs in all of it that are dropping. And that can happen whenever.
Can I kind of follow up to my question a little bit?
Absolutely,
Is that okay?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I experienced up until this happened, my relationship with God was the most important thing in my life. And once this happened, boom, I can't pray. I feel like I have to manufacture something that isn't there, a manufactured sense of separation in order to pray. And it just seems silly. And I'm not trying to do it anymore, but obviously that was, so what you said about like letting go of everything, like it's beliefs. It happened. When I say the 7th fetter, I guess what I'm referring to more specifically is I guess there's still maybe a sense of separation. And that's when I think of the 7th fetter, I think of that sense of separation. Or maybe I have an idea in my mind of what it's going to be like that I'm holding up, looking at, that that it's not that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's dropped or not. I have no idea. So
we actually work, I know like the Kevin and Christiane model tends to put in the 7th fetter, it's the process of perception. So they kind of work with separation in 6, but then it's like there still seems to be something perceiving, like the perception actually exists. But we actually tend to work with that along with the 6th fetter, because they're so basically the same thing. That with the 6th fetter, you have the idea that there is some sort of a subject-object relationship where there is a distance between a thing and the thing which is perceiving it, recognizing it. And there's an idea that there's then must be um, a faculty of perception that's happening. But it's all one and the same. That if you have that insight that there isn't anything here that's separate from what's out there, then that whole concept of perceiving or awareness or any of that drops with it, because that the idea that there's like a knower separate from the known becomes, we deal more specifically with that in its sort of finest form in the 10th fetter, but it's that same kind of a relationship where it's really about that feeling of something here separate from out there. But what I am curious about is, do you have, in your kind of estimation of what you expect that means, is it that kind of, I feel like I am the trees breathing, and I feel like I am, seeing myself from the clouds, and like that kind of experience?
so I think there is some of that expectation lingering. And I don't know, I don't know how realistic that is, or I know that it's just a thought, and I don't know if it's,
but it's still tying into a little kernel of an I that is here. And in the 6th feather, you have exercises where we look out, for example, to a tree, and we look out, and that barrier of the tree being over there, and I'm here, and that is kind of like dissolving, and then we snap and switch it. So now you're out there looking back. What do you actually see? And the exercises, when we do it in the 6th fetter, They are really, really transformative because when you have dissolved it from here to out there, and you see that, okay, there can't be a tree out there, the tree's in here, right? So when you snap it and you look back, then there's nothing to look back on. And that, for a lot of people, is where that little kernel dissolves. That, oh wow, even that was a belief. It was just a thought of something substantial. But when I actually look at it, turn back and look at it, there's nothing to look back on. But that's in, you have all the material in the six fetter for that.
Yeah, I was going to say, between the Awakening Curriculum YouTube page and the Unfettered Mindfulness, we have a lot of six fetter exercises.
Six fetter is Todd's favorite fetter.
It's
so
fun.
There's it's a fun fetter.
It really
there's
is.
so much to work with in the six fetter. You're gonna have fun with that.
But I would say that you know, the expectation that you have is something which is a potential experience for some people, but it's not a necessary requirement for everybody to see through that sense of separation and distance. And it's not a permanent state. It's not something that anybody is just like, and then you're blown out forever and you can no longer, drive a car or
you need psychedelics for that.
Yeah. And the thing is, it puts you, if we really, because there is a reality to the physical organism in a world with other physical organisms. And so there is a practicality to being able to actually navigate the world. And there is a utility to having that level of illusion of separation, because there's a utility to it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had it. The problem is that there are assumptions that get created out of that. And part of that is the suffering of individuality and identification. And it's one of those things that, even though it's not like fundamental to our experience, it's an overlay, which again, useful, but the thoughts that connect to that, the assumptions that get made off of that illusion are the ones of, well, then I am this separate little me in this dangerous world that has to be protected and needs things to be a certain way. And it's all of that that we're seeing through. We can still see in 3 dimensions, and we can still see that there's a bus out there that thankfully is not currently in contact with this body, and all of that really, really useful. But for some people, having those blown out experiences carries some of that insight. For other people, it's useful enough just to do the exercises and to see, like, because there's a feeling very much like when you do first fetter exercises, seeing through the self, there's like an opening that happens, right? Like if you're doing the inquiry, and you can feel that sort of open window feeling, like the bubble just popped and now all of a sudden there's just nothing but space there. And it's that same sort of thing with the six fetter. It's just a slightly different, more subtle shading of it. And so don't like feel like you're missing something if that hasn't happened, or that I have to keep striving for this one experience that I've heard somebody talk about, because that can just keep reinforcing that sense of seeking.
And I also just want to say that one of the biggest takeaways with all of this, it is not to have the striving.
Yeah.
Because who is it that is striving, and for what? If there is just an arising, and that arising that is happening right now is equally valid no matter what is arising, then all we have to do is just let go of all that bullshit and just notice and just experience, and that arising and that dissolving and the arising and the dissolving is all there is. The rest is just, exercises to make time pass,
Yeah. And I like Leela said, any point of view is a subtle eye.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And that is very helpful. And I do also realize, like, the mind, ego, whatever you want to call it, has a tendency to, like, I want to feel good all the time, of course, right? And I think that there's some idea there of like, oh, it's going to make me feel good. And what happened again with this, I guess the eighth fetter falling, is that the whole energy, all the energy behind pushing and pulling like 95% of it fell out the bottom.
Yeah.
And it's like I can see it I can see it like trying to become something,
Yeah.
but there's like nothing for it to hold on to.
No.
So I see it rising up and I see it like wanting to push or pull, and then it falls. So it's like there's nowhere for it to hold,
Yeah.
nothing for it to hold on to.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Love it.
I just want to give you one last thing that whenever next time you have an idea of, for example, of I just want to feel good all the time, what does that actually mean? How do you know what good is and bad is? Who is not only who is judging that, but how do you know? Because if you look back on your life, what that the position you're in right now, where everything is just anxiety and tumultuous, and it's not like you would go like, oh yeah, give me more of that, because on the face of it, you that is bad, you know, smiling, laughing, so the tears are rolling, that is good. But how do you know this might actually be the best thing that ever happened to you? So our puny little minds sitting and going like, no, this is good and this is bad. Just question that. How do you know? How do you know? Because we don't have all the information. We don't know what is actually amazing and important. The only thing we know is that right now there's an arising. If there's no judgment of it, it's just an arising. Just like I said in the video I posted yesterday, that right now I would put a label on and say, this is grief, this is sadness. But how do I actually know that this is grief and sadness? That is just a label that is minimizing the experience. And I can promise to all of you, when I call this grief, I'm minimizing it. This is so much more. This is like an unfolding of a rose. This is like I'm learning so many things about my processes and my, relationships and everything in the process that I'm in right now. And putting on a label that is calling it grief is minimizing the experience, and it makes it sound like something bad. And it's really, really not. It's really, really not. There's a beautiful thing unfolding in me right now, and the label we put on it is not descriptive of what is actually happening. So how do you know that this is a good thing or this is a bad thing? So next time you have that, I just want to feel good all the time. You do. Right now, you do. This is amazing. What you're experiencing right now, you go, girl. This is amazing. You know?
Thank you. Yeah. And intuitively, I know that this is the best thing that could ever, I mean, it's like I won the lottery and
Yeah.
from some view.
Yeah.
But yes, it is. It's excruciating.
And also, but that's the other thing though, is that, I mean, as we're evidencing right now, old age, sickness, and death are inevitable.
We are both.
We got all three going on right here. So this is so all of these things are inevitable, and it's not so much that we're trying to avoid experiencing any of it. It's when we're really present with all of it, whether it's pain or enjoyment or fun and excitement or, grief and sadness, whatever is showing up. If we take off those labels and the judgments towards it, and we're really absolutely present with the raw sensation of whatever the experience is, there's a neutrality behind all of it. And that's why we talk about stillness, simplicity, contentment, peace. It's just when you're completely open and available to the most basic raw experience of that sensation, whatever it is, whether it's a broken bone or the loss of a loved one or, a fun day out at the amusement park, whatever it is, if you're really at that just not adding any of that seventh fetter, something out of nothing, not doing something to it or giving it a label and an identity or a push and pull against it or any of that. It's just incredibly neutral. And so that's why you don't have to worry about escaping certain experiences. It's just our attitude towards it when we drop the judgment of it and the identification of it, and it can just be truly present. Everything is okay.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you both.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much,
Thank you
Brandon.
so
Good
much.
having you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I saw Leela just said something too. Interesting that the common idea that this is the best thing that could happen is also a belief. I said it to someone yesterday and caught it and laughed. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so true. Sorry. Sorry.
I think it's so funny. We're both sitting with the representation of old age, sickness, and death.
Here we are, people.
Living the Buddhist dream.
So if anybody else has questions, comments, anything to share, just raise your hand.
While nobody's asking, we can just say that we believe that the book is going to be published on the 12th.
I think so. The hopefully final proof is coming today, and if that looks okay and all is well, I think that the book will be
And
ready.
I really would like to make a video where we talk about the book. The book is a weird book.
It's freaking strange.
But it is describing an awakening process going from the darkest of the darkest into the 10th fetter, and it's doing it in the way that an awakening process is, where nothing is linear at all. It's like like an awakening process is, and it's doing it with cheek and self-pity and complete enlightenment and everything. It's really, really good.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah, it's really good. There's so many quotable sentences that also have helped me in bringing clarity to how my experiences they are. That Todd, he's really good at writing and condensing a very, very big experience into like 3 words or a quotable sentence that is really, really useful.
Thank you.
You can look forward to the weirdest book you have ever held, and I'm quite sure that it's gonna be one of those books that you might buy and leave on the shelf. We talked about it because, as you know, is the awakening process is we start out, ooh, amazing, this is super interesting, and then we go into that 4, 5, 6, 7 that just fucking drags out, and it's like having a root canal without sedation, and the book is like that. And then you come in on the other side where it's like 8, 9, 10, and it's just like fucking brilliant. But I think we're gonna lose a lot of people in that 5, 6, 7 period of the book. It just drags on.
It does.
It does. But
yeah.
it's so, and all of it is just exactly on point of how the experience is. It's really, really good book.
Thanks, babe.
Really good book.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, it's not the normal awakening book that you will no, it's really weird.
Whatever you're expecting, it's probably not.
It's not that.
It's not that.
And if you have that experience, it's gonna be absolutely amazing. It's probably not.
It's not. It's really not. No. Really lower your bar. Lower your expectations way down.
You've never seen anything like it. No, it's utterly weird. It's really, really weird.
Yeah.
I think we should find somebody to sell it instead of us.
I think so.
I think
somebody else could do a much better job of this.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So far, we talked everybody out of it.
Well, thank you, Debbie. That's amazing.
Yeah, the Explorer is good. Yeah.
Yeah, I still have the other one. I still haven't made live yet. I gotta do that.
Yeah.
Okay, enough plugging. We got Kate.
Rather speak with Kate. There we go.
Kate.
Hello, my friend.
You.
Good to see you.
Hello.
How you feeling?
Oh, I'm sick.
You've been sick too, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been sick. It's like this weird just fatigue that just won't go away.
Yeah.
So hanging in there, just resting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Pernille, for your loss.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
how are you feeling?
I feel muted. I feel like just sitting looking into thin air. So it's what I do most of the time. Every time I try to do something, it doesn't work. And then I just, oh yeah, right. It was thin air, going back to thin air.
So what's been going on with you?
Yeah, well, so I think it's kind of funny because it's like I want to ask this question, and I know that just the simple asking of this question is just selfing.
It's okay. It's okay. I just want to say something about that because there's really something to be said about about the self-care for the non-self. There's
Mm,
really, really something to be said about that. That if we have hooks into experiences that we have had, where things in our lives now just doesn't click, and we can't seem to figure out what that click is, it is because there is selfing in it. But selfing is not a bad thing. It's something that is part of our developmental stages. And if it didn't click then, it needs to click now. We can't
mm.
bypass it in any way. So even though you know that it is selfing, if it's something that needs to click, it's absolutely valid. It's absolutely valid.
Thank you. Um, yeah, well, I guess so. What's been going on with me is this year has been like the year where I've done a record number of retreats. Like I've spent so far something like 7 weeks on retreat this year. And I did a 4 week retreat in August, and I came back from that, and I feel like there's been so much, at least in the recent weeks, like just some there's been it's strange because there's been simultaneously like this feeling of just total surrender, like um whatever is happening. Like I was supposed to be another retreat last week. I got sick and I was like, okay, didn't matter. Like it was okay. Like there's something in my system that is just saying like rest.
Mm.
Um and I'm going to another retreat next week for a week-long retreat with Angelo, and that's coming up, and but I just feel like there's been, yeah, so the simultaneous kind of like surrender and wanting to actually sit a lot more than usual in silence,
Yeah.
but without wanting to do any inquiry at all.
Yes.
Like there's
Yes.
been a lot of avoidance,
Yes.
or I don't
Yes.
know if it's even avoidance. It's just like there's zero desire to do
Yeah.
any kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
inquiry
Yeah.
or investigation or whatever. So yeah, I just kind of wanted,
It's when I say that I just want to sit and look into thin air, that's that.
yeah,
That there's no mental capacity to do inquiry or to meditate or to
yeah,
do just seeing or there's no mental
any,
capacity
yeah,
at all. I just need to sit and
yeah,
literally just look and not notice what I'm looking at, not notice what I'm
exactly.
hearing, and just
Yeah,
completely zooming out. It's because
yeah,
it's because you're on a mental overload. There's too much happening to the system, not only mental overload, that you're on an overload, but there's
energetic.
too much
Yeah,
happening to the system. There's too many things are surfacing at the same time, so you just need to like push pause, and
yeah,
then you just do that. It's completely fine.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
completely fine.
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I also just want to say that if you go to the retreat and you feel overloaded and you're sitting in there and you can't concentrate on what is being said and you can't concentrate on the meditations, and it's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine. You can sit and go into a push pause on a retreat, even though it's you're there, and if you have thoughts about, but I'm supposed to, and I paid, and all of that, just
Yeah.
drop it. Notice where that comes from. Notice where the root of that is. Who's actually saying that? It's not you, so who's actually saying that? And just notice, note, drop, and then back to looking at thin air.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of the feeling that I have too. Like even, it's kind of like just really recognizing that there's no way to do it otherwise really anyway.
No, no,
Yeah.
anything else would be forceful,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's where the self-care for the non-self is relevant.
Yeah.
That is.
Sorry, Mom, waving at me. Okay, bye. Sorry, she was just leaving.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah,
I do feel like we don't emphasize enough that to be aware of those natural cycles of where the times that we feel really motivated to do inquiry and to do that kind of like yang practice, and then the other times that it's like we just need that processing time for things to just cool down and relax and allow them.
Fall into a new normal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and for everything to sort of reset and integrate. And we don't maybe talk about that enough, but I think it's such an important thing to just really honor the system and the way it feels, and just don't have that extra thought of, well, but I should be putting in the time to do this, and I'm wasting it if I'm not doing that. And there's a retreat that I should be going to do. It's like sometimes we just need to have that humility of like, the body seems to know what it needs, and
Yeah.
let's just let that take care of itself.
Yeah. 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 It's so important. I feel like I've spent like a lot of my this path like um feeling during those moments exactly like feeling like, oh, but I should
Yeah.
be. And or like judging like there's too many of those moments where I should be and I'm not versus the moments where I have the motivation and
Yeah.
I am kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's also we also have that tendency for the plus one game. You know, if I'm doing this, I can do better and I can do more and I can be more insightful and I can sit longer and I can all of that. We do that plus one game instead of just what the body needs and what is arising right now. That is exactly perfect as it is. You know, there's nothing that needs to be added or subtracted. This moment right now is exactly like it's supposed to be. And who am I to know what would be better? You know, that's
yeah,
just mind formations. It's the mind noise. It's not real at all. What is happening right now is exactly what should happen because it is.
yeah. Yeah, it's funny because there's sort of like this other part where like when I don't know, for me, and I think this probably happens to a lot of people, like when you first start out on this path, like there's sort of a rejection of everything kind of like superficial, like no TV, no movies, no like anything that seems to be not related to awakening
Yep.
for and that lasted for a really long time. And I feel like it's funny because it feels like this weird, ironic thing that I feel like I've something has shifted because now I don't care about this
Uh-huh.
stuff. Now I
Yeah,
don't care if
exactly.
I spend an entire day watching that 90s show or whatever it is. Just like, okay, this is what's happening now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, anyway.
And
Yeah.
it is funny.
Yeah.
It is funny. It's really that, chopping wood, carrying water thing.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there is nothing inherently bad or good or enlightened or unenlightened about that 90s show. It's like, it's that same it's that seventh fetter thing of like making something into it like, oh, this is not in the enlightenment world. I shouldn't be, it's bringing down my vibration. It's, whatever the association is that we have with it, we're giving that power to it. We're saying that there's something inherently good about meditation and bad about sitting in front of the TV. And I'm now going to align myself, quite forcefully because I've been in that exact same position for years where I went through that. And it's like there was so much guilt. I mean, I was a musician, and there was so much guilt about like listening to or playing music or something because it was like I remember even reading like Buddhist sutras where there was like the Buddha was talking to like a former musician, and he was like using that as like an example of like there was the famous story where it's like well, you couldn't play your vina if the string was either too loose or too tight, and it has to be just perfect, and it's that balance of practice. Like you can't be too tight, over tight with your practice, and you can't be too loose with your practice. But the funny thing was, I didn't take that point from it. I took, oh, well, he was a musician. So was the Buddha actually saying that he could play his vina and it was okay? It was like completely missing the message. It was basically just looking for some sort of excuse to be like, to be able to do the thing that I wanted to do, but felt guilty doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, and I just want to, as a little footnote for everybody that goes like, "Oh, did they say Burger on TV was great?" I just want to say that we are talking about the middle way here,
yeah.
friends. We are talking about the middle way. That being super diligent and going through 12 hours of nonstop sitting, we're not suggesting that unless you're moved towards it. And
Yeah.
the same with the burgers and the TV.
Yeah.
It is the middle way. It is the middle way. And also just on a different note that the majority of people I have spoken to that have experienced awakening, they did not experience that on the cushion.
Yeah.
They experienced that doing absolutely daily mundane things like doing the dishes or um, turning around and seeing a view or something, seeing a child or petting a pet or something like that. It was just absolutely mundane things where it suddenly said snap and then everything just dropped. it wasn't on the cushion.
No,
It
the
might have
cushion.
been all the
Yeah.
decades on the cushion
Yeah.
that made it possible for them to experience it when they were doing the dishes. But it's just, to keep being humble to that we do not know. We do not know. We do not know. So whatever we are moved to, when it has that healthy night fetter flow, that is exactly where we're supposed to be. And if you right now have that movement towards just, the just, yeah, not the just sitting exercises, but just sitting looking at thin air, like I call it, where it's just that's what you move to, then by all means.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Kate.
thank you
So
so
good
much.
seeing you.
Yeah, good
Thank
seeing you.
you.
And enjoy your retreat.
Yeah.
There are lots of wonderful people going there, so you're gonna meet.
Yes, there are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot of them. It's gonna
And
be
it's
nice.
silent, so you won't be able to talk to any of them.
Well, I'm getting there a day before, so I'm gonna get to some of my friends that went to the month-long retreat are gonna be there, so we're gonna get
Nice.
together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice. Yeah. Enjoy.
Have
Enjoy.
fun.
Thank you.
Bye.
Then it's Anna.
Uh,
I can't see it.
Why?
I can't see it.
Hold on.
No.
Okay, hold on a
Can you
second.
hear me?
Yeah, we're
just give me a
just trying to
second.
find why.
Here
There
we
it
go.
is.
It's weird. It didn't allow me.
Maybe if someone wants to go ahead of me, I need to get home.
Okay,
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
We take Orlena
Okay.
first. Be
Yeah,
safe.
walk
Okay.
safe.
Yeah, be safe. Talk shortly. We take Orlena.
Hello.
There we
Good to
are.
see you.
Hello. Good to see you. And I can relate, Pernille, to your experience of just wanting to stare into space right now, because that was my experience for a very long time after my son died. And I I wasn't really hit with the finality of it until year two.
Mm,
So the first year seemed like I was just in stunned or,
yeah.
you know, disbelief. I don't know. But anyway, I can certainly appreciate that. It just sort of dysfunctional stare into space
Yeah.
mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Oh,
sorry for your loss.
yeah. And yours too.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we just miss them. We just want to hug them and be there,
Yeah.
with them in real.
Yeah.
Um, and so I wanted to ask about what is your take on Kundalini and the Kundalini rising experience and any aspect of Kriyas that are mentioned in other disciplines. I'm not very well read or familiar with all the variety of different spiritual enlightenment practices and disciplines, but I did attend a transmission meditation with Gareth Dwignam, who's from Ireland, for 5 days. And not only did it transform the depth and the impact of my meditation practices, which prior to that had been, I'd say, fairly superficial. I would just sit down and do the practice because this is a good thing to do and it'll lead me somewhere awesome. I don't know. But it did change the way that I experience meditation. But what I did notice, though, was there were people who I observed in that retreat who had Kundalini release experiences. I could see it happening. And I just wonder how that fits in with the fetters and how that may or may not manifest. And it seems like the fetters are kind of an yes, you're talking about it coming from an embodied place of awareness in the physical realm, but it also seems like it's quite intellectual in terms of being able to understand what the different levels of fetters are. However, as opposed to these practices of simply meditation in the presence of someone who has the ability to transform or to transmit their level of energy into those people who are around them and create an awareness or an awakening, something.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's such a good question, and it's one that I have a bit of a limited answer to, maybe. It might not be fully satisfying. Um, I'm, I absolutely agree that there is something that happens in that we tend to, you know, quantify and call either Kundalini or the energy or something. The Kriyas, absolutely. My question is whether it is what we think it is. Um, like I've had experiences, well, when I was like 20 and I got into meditation, I had what was possibly a, brief psychotic episode, but looking at it, it actually had all the hallmarks of Kundalini, like a spontaneous Kundalini awakening. So there were Kriyas, there was all sorts of stuff where all sorts of beliefs ended up getting in the way and the ego was absolutely not prepared for any of it and it went totally off the rails and it was a complete disaster. But
Read the
to put it
book.
briefly, well, it's not in the book anymore. It was in the
Well,
book, yeah,
no, all
but it was a complete disaster. And I think there was something there to that, and there were experiences of energy going up the spine and the body rising out of the seat and smashing back down, and all of these weird, crazy things that seem to be happening. And there does seem to be just in general, well, okay, two separate things. Um, I don't know how to really put that into a box because there are so many different traditions that kind of talk about these experiences and they kind of put their own labels on them and sort of take ownership of it. And I'm always skeptical of that sort of thing. So I think there is some sort of experience there. Whether it's a necessary thing for awakening, I don't think. I think it's like one of those pathways that opens up something for some people and can be useful for some people. But since we always say, like, we're not even really clear on a universal definition of what awakening is, I really think there are variations of experiences which all fall under one very open heading of awakening. And I think some of those can actually absolutely be accelerated by whatever energetic processes, with the meditation process and all of that come with it. As for the Kriyas, there seems to be something with um like I know for me, if I just at any point sort of feel into the body and have that like feeling of sort of letting go, that just, touching into it, there are all sorts of spontaneous body motions that happen. And when we do the embodiment stuff, like with the retreat, we're really kind of tapping into that kind of spontaneous body movement and energy that is in there that I think most of the time we're just when we stay above the neck and we don't feel into it, we're just completely dissociated from it. And so I think some of those practices are other ways of tapping into whatever that is. Um, I've never had the opportunity to sit with anybody who supposedly can, transmit or channel things like that. So I have no, you know, direct, and it's one of those things where I know there's also so many powers of placebo and other things that we just can't explain that from that kind of standpoint, I can't come down on any side of the thing because I just have no experience of it. And I know some people have experiences where they talk about these things and other people don't. And yeah, so I can't really go any
Mm.
any more conclusive than that, I'm afraid to say. Yeah.
For about like 100 years ago, I had in-person weekend retreats where we work with Kundalini and we work with with chakras and opening the chakras. But because I'm autistic, the way that I access things is through logic. So I don't I don't really understand. I understand energy and I understand energy moving, but things being mystical and stuff like that, it just doesn't. I don't. I can't say believe in that. I don't understand it. So I understand it through logic. And the root chakra and everything that is in the root chakra is the same energy and acupuncture point in Chinese medicine, which is connected with the gonads or the chameleon, as I call it in the Fetter language. The solar plexus and everything that is located there, it's our socialization. So that is where you have the adrenals, and it's where you have what I call the aggressive bully in the feathers. And the throat chakra and everything that is connected, that is like where we connect intellect with our body experience of being in the world, and have difficulties with asking for needs and having needs met and all that, because we intellectualize everything instead of just being in the body and experiencing. And that is where we have the passive aggressive bully, what I call it in the feathers. So what I did with the retreat was activating the different chakras, but also looking at the hormonal levels and doing it with the body exercises that you know from the retreat, and also from the embodiment that you know that we're doing. So it's activating by movement, but it's tapping into the different ages of where the muscle development was, and the tendons and the ligament and the fascia development was in the different developmental ages that we had from the last trimester until we are around 16 years old. And that was how I did my Kundalini retreat. So it was more logical than mystical, I would say. But super, super efficient, because when you have the mindset that is supporting the hormonal pattern that you're activating, and you're doing it specifically with an activation, and you are in a group where you feel safe, and then a lot of things surface that would not have surfaced otherwise. And it is basically knowing which muscles, tendon, ligament, and fascia to activate when you're doing an exercise, together with breathing and together with specific thoughts or eye circulations. And then you can absolutely tap into every single chakra and release what needs to be released, meet what needs to be met, and you leave as if you have had like a full body internal makeover.
Wow. Well, interesting. This is all very fascinating to me to approach it from trying to understand it and the way it manifests physically in the different and the energy systems of the body. Yeah, I love that. There's Hatha yoga is working on the physical movement of the body, and then there's a Raja yoga, which is attending to the more intellectual approach to awakening. And I do believe that awakening is a process that continues to open and open and open. It's not like a one thing and what you want and done.
Yeah.
And that what I've understood about those people who have gone through many of these processes is that they think they've reached their peak. They're at the top of the mountain, and then something else
Yeah.
happens, and then something else. It's as though it's just unfathomable
Yes.
how expanded and how much awakening can happen. We just don't even we don't have the imagination to grasp it.
Yeah.
But I just have to say I appreciate your input, and also to say that since this retreat, that when I'm meditating, which happened during the retreat too, in meditation, that I would just weep. Just tears would be flowing down my face. Not a particular thought or anything happening. I'm just weeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that are really important when we start to activate the chakras, that we do not create stories about it. That we
Right.
we activate, we poke the the bear that is not there. So we poke the bear, and then a lot of things are happening. And without adding more to it or creating stories about it, we just allow things to be experienced and expressed, and that's it. And it is such a relief, especially when you don't add any stories to it. Oh, my mom, all of that. But just allow it to surface, and then it's gone. And you're not carrying around anything anymore. It's just wonderful.
Right. It's more of a weeping that had a sense of such incredible gratitude.
Yeah,
I feel that like weeping now just by
yeah,
saying it
yeah,
right now.
yeah.
And I'm so grateful for you two and how much you've given all of us. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you.
Orlena. So sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for asking too.
yeah.
Yeah.
And also I just want to say now, and I know I maybe shouldn't, but here we go. That when you feel that gratitude that is arising, don't create a story about that it's us and you're
Mm.
grateful to us, because that's a story. Right
I
now,
know. I understand that.
right now in your body, wonderful Alina, right now in your body, there's gratitude arising, there's tears falling, and it's just gratitude. It's just gratitude. Leave all the stories by at the door, because you're minimizing the experience. When you just allow gratitude to be there, you can be gratitude about atoms. You can be grateful. You can be grateful about atoms. You can be grateful about, anything
It's
that
true non-duality. You are gratitude itself.
you are gratitude itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're absolutely
But
right.
thank you very much for the
Yeah.
compliment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sending much love. Thank you.
Bye.
And now Anna's safe home.
Yes.
We're happy to see that.
Hello.
Hello,
Welcome
wonderful
to
person.
your normal surroundings.
I apologize for earlier.
No,
All
no,
right.
no, no.
Pernille, I'm very sorry about your loss. That's
Thank you.
first I would like to express. Um, Something is shifting here, and something I wasn't expecting to shift this way.
Yeah.
Really wasn't expecting. I knew, I heard, I could see previously, but the way it started to appear now, when I see that, it's just like, oh, like really, because I wasn't expecting. So, if before this kind of, I don't know, like a live emptiness, let's call it that way, it was kind of like in front of me, and I was like looking into it, and it was here, like into my face, like breathing, like all the time here. And I was standing here looking at that. So it kind of, something happened on Sunday morning when I woke up. I realized that what I was standing on and looking from, that has gone. And I'm directly in that emptiness, that aliveness, and that's like that just like penetrates you. And with that aliveness, also like everything just became like so close, like very, very just like here. The same times they kind of unlocalized, but very like here sounds feel like they explosive, like just like whoa. And like even like visual field, it's still like kind of 3D, but it's not even as 3D as it normally was, but still kind of 3D. But it's like um it's more like a fluid, still solid, but it's more fluid, and it's you can't separate yourself from that at all, and it feels a bit like overwhelming, like too much, and you can't get anywhere. That's where I was getting somewhere that's not available anymore.
Yeah.
And so this morning when I woke up, my eyes still were closed, but I was fully awake. And recently I noticed that with eyes closed is like surrounding like a picture of Rome, or like picture of body. I was kind of weakening, but still was there. And recently it started to disappear and more and more. And like when with eyes closed, it's more like that emptiness, like something like moving that type of way. And you kind of can't. I can't point myself. Am I in the vertical position? I am horizontal position. You can't, yeah, pinpoint yourself, like hanging somewhere in the air type of way.
Yeah.
And that what I am feels like a not like a solid form, but like a density, like a foggy density, like a cloud, that type of thing. So this morning I woke up and there was no, I had no face. I had no face. And the body was just a contour and empty, completely empty with all this. And then during the day, at some stage, I was listening to my girls at work and they chatting something and next thing like it's just like this like what I normally like it's emptiness looking out. It's like complete emptiness looking into emptiness. With all like, everything is around, but just yeah. And that's every time this like no face and that's emptiness. I just like, oh, I wasn't expecting that to that degree.
I love it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
We I don't know if you were here earlier when we talked to Brandon about the sixth feather being the fun feather, but that is exactly it. Exactly what you described with that feeling of you closing your eyes, breathing a few times, and then the entire body is gone. There's no body. It's just like some kind of buzzing here, but then it's not connected. That there's like nothing here. Also, what you described with seeing you at work and you see the people there, but it's like there's nothing where the information is bouncing back to. It's just an arising. There's not them and me and seeing and hearing. It's just like a yeah,
It's
yeah,
like staring
exactly.
into your like staring into yourself, that type of way. And like yesterday when I was walking I remember you said to do this as a practice, and I was walking yesterday, I just like, oh, that's what you were talking about, without any practicing, without any thinking. I was walking and it felt like not I am stepping down, but
Yeah,
like
the
ground is
ground is
going
coming up.
up.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I really remembered you saying that. I just like so, oh, that's what you mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like you feel like so airy, like you're bouncing, like you're hardly touching the
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah. So what is happening right now, Anna, is that the entire construct of your belief in subject object is dissolving. That belief you have released the belief in it, and now everything is like falling apart. A bit like Inception, where everything just falls down in squares or in
Mm.
pixels, where everything that you previously perceived as reality is being dissolved. And it will put you there where even when you hear the word reality, it doesn't ring true anywhere because there is not a single solid as a reality. It's just an appearance that is appearing differently every single moment, and they're not connected in any way. It's just appearances like ding, 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 and it's not a disappearing either. Um, so it's like the whole construct of reality is dissolving. When you do that work, you really need to be have a very solid foundation and boundaries in you. Otherwise, it's like, quick trip to the loony bin because it's like everything that we believe as real or solid or known are dissolving. And there's no difference. They're not real and they're not solid. You just see that.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, it's very easy to experience all fetters drop when that drops because there's no longer any belief, there's no creating something out of nothing, there's no time where anything can attach itself to. There's no motivation to do things in a certain order because it's just arising anyway, and you do not know what the fuck is happening. So it's like all of it is just dropping right away.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you have a very good, how can I say that? Grasp of it. I'm not concerned about you. I
Mm.
can say like that. Um, because you're just flowing with what is happening, and there's nothing you can do about it anyway. So it's just that free flowing. So just, enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
It's when you say it about boundaries, there was like I was on answering like client's call, and a client started to raise a voice on me because like I explained what is happening, and they didn't land well. I actually was so proud I can speak up for myself because, and she's, I said, please don't be raising voice with me. But she just like, you've been very rude with me from very beginning, this and that and that. I said, like, I'm not going to take this attitude. Goodbye. And I just hung up. Then I reported my management, and I just said, like, I'm like, I was thinking myself, I'm not there to be treated, like
No.
if you want to speak, speak to me and we will sort it out, but don't be raising your voice. So yeah, that was this like very like big wow,
Yeah.
taking into account how much I had an issues with boundaries and
Yeah.
like setting like this where I stand. I'm not okay with that. So yeah, that's um like having like a solid ground for
Yeah.
that self.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
And also that you saying you can't yell at me. I don't accept you yelling at me. You have to lower your voice if we're talking. It's a completely valid request for adult communication. And if people can't emotionally regulate, then they should seek a therapist, not call you. So it's like you can completely say this is not how we talk. You have to
mm-hmm.
talk nice
Mm-hmm.
and not having anything hung up in it. There's not you putting your foot down or anything. It's just like, no, 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 not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
is that is then instead of being boundaries that are being upheld and all of that, it's just a nine fetter flow. It's just a no, not having that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing more to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like when that happened, like my heart rate was just like
Yeah,
jumping.
yeah, yeah.
Because it doesn't feel comfortable, like when people
No.
are so aggressive towards you for, you know,
But
um,
it's also really good for you to be in a position now where you can notice what fear feels like when other people are aggressive towards you. Because, with childhood histories and all of that, we can be very desensitized. We can be very convinced that it's okay to be a punching bag. It's okay to be a verbal punching bag or emotional punching bag. It's okay because I experienced that always. So reaching a point where you can feel that no, and then start to notice what actually happens in your body when people are being
hmm.
violent and abusive with their words. What actually happens? That is a normal reaction. You're supposed to react like that. You're supposed to feel like that because the whole body gives you a sign to run.
Mm-hmm.
This organism needs to survive, run. And that is a healthy, that's a healthy body now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do
Mm-hmm.
not go into a white unmarked van. We do not do that. That is a healthy body now. So that you feel that you had that feeling of, ooh, blood rushing, not creating any stories about it.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. That is a body no.
Okay. Okay. And like last couple of weeks, the visuals is shifting. It started to shift after, but even like prior, something probably was working there underneath, subconscious, unconscious, who knows, in the cellar, down in the cellar. And, and there was this like anxious, like fear, something like a fear, like I'm unsafe, like this, like I'm unsafe all the time, like just like coming up and coming up and coming up. And but because, like these boundaries are not as strong as they used to be, that when that sensation comes, it's just like it feels all environment, like whole room, like filled with that you could say like fear, like whole air is fear. And but like it's okay. So it's just like okay, you kind of just like if that doesn't go away, like I can live with that like for the rest of my life because it's just like just there.
Yeah.
But what I realized behind this like primal like survival fear, this like clinging like need, like this desperate helplessness. There is all these beliefs, like need for belonging and like need to be loved and like need to be significant, all like this like a road, this like yeah, that like a raw sensation like of restlessness and like fear, combination of that.
Mm.
Yeah, that thing. And like this, like sometimes this visual, I just, like them like water drains when like everything just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it feels like, whoo, like collapses.
Mm. Mm.
Okay.
One important thing to remember during all of this is that each one is an experience of its own.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to remember that the the impermanence of everything. And so you
Mm-hmm.
said like it's okay that, even if this existed forever, it likely won't. But it's having that and then also recognizing that these are all sort of temporary experiences. And if the body suddenly comes back online and solidifies, it's okay. We're not
Mm-hmm.
grasping to maintain anything, we're not pushing anything away. It's really that utter openness that allows even those feelings of openness and untetheredness and spaciousness and emptiness and all of that to be there because there's absolutely nothing that's fighting against it and there's nothing that is calling for it to be different than it is or to continue being like this. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really maintaining that openness towards it at all times.
Yeah, it's actually when you talking about that, I have noticed that so all the time it's just changing, changing, changing. And also, like more you see like I don't know, like okay, more you see through other fetters, like you really like as you describe, you're a veil of identification and you just moving there all over the place. And yeah, it's just like sometimes it feels like there is me and more into body, and then there is like this and that, and it's just like changing all the time. And and when you were talking about that, it's actually I was listening and realized it's actually fun if you just if you're not trying to has to be this way or that way, or that shouldn't be here, or that should be different. It's more like fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really, it's like, I mean,
absolutely.
people, take various types of drugs to have, experiences where ironically, if you take psychedelics or something and you're clinging to needing something to maintain, that's how people get really bad trips. It's like
Mm.
that hanging on and trying to maintain. But if you can relax into whatever it is and go with it, it's that very same experience where we have to be able to learn to just let go and just have that open, curious, huh, just allowing things to move and change and feel different. And that is a very different experience than clinging on to, I need things to be the way they've always been. I need this feeling of security and grounding and normalcy. That's, doing any of this work eventually it's going to have to be worked with because that's going to be um, just more cause for that fear that we have to be able to see through. Um,
Mm.
Is that existential terror you're speaking about?
yeah, yeah, or the fear barrier that people talk with before any shift, because it's like all of a sudden something else is it feels like something is going to die or be let go of, or I have to be able to let go of this security. And really, there's nothing that different on the other side of any experience. It's all still of the same substance. It's still of the same experience. It's just that there's an idea about grasping. There's an idea about what I thought was real and now maybe isn't the way that I thought it was. And so it's an idea that's being let go of, but that idea feels, eh, when we believe it, it feels extremely life and death. And it's being able to just let go of that idea that there is anything that we know or can hold on to or need to be a certain way. And then with that, our experience is free to just change and come and go as it does, without needing to bind it all into that localized sense of perspective and continuity. So just stay open.
Enjoy the ride.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Enjoy the
absolutely.
ride. Yeah. Hunter Thompson said, "Buy the ticket, take the ride." You're you bought the ticket, so here you go. Just enjoy it.
That's like someone said about them tickets. I think, how does that lady say it? She said, I think I got all tickets that were on the sale. Just can't get off the rides. Thank you so much.
No, you're
Thank
so
you.
welcome.
Todd,
Yes.
get better soon.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Working on it.
Yeah.
Working on it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye, Anna.
Bye-bye.
It's up.
Thank
There.
you. All right. Anybody else? If not, we can have a short day.
Yeah, we can do that.
Last call.
Going for once.
Going twice.
Okay, next time
All
we
right.
see you guys is next week, Friday, where we have, yeah, the,
Sorry.
it's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
I just wanted to say, I just realized I called Todd Ted again because my son is Ted.
I didn't even hear that, so it's okay. Yeah. It's not the first time I've answered to that. People my whole life have been calling me either Ted or for some reason Scott. That's been since I was a kid, like my entire life, Scott has been my alter ego, and I don't know why. So
You
random
don't come
people.
across as a Scott.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
maybe you do, I don't know.
Yeah, but to somebody I did, apparently. But like throughout my life, people have been like just calling me Scott. So it's okay. I'll really answer to anything. I mean, it's like you.
It's
You're
like
just,
me and my names.
yeah, yeah. As long as it starts with a P, you're probably okay.
No, a lot of people call me Vanilla because
Vanilla? Did you say?
Vanilla, yeah,
Vanilla.
because they remember that. I'm fine. I'm not really attached to my name, so yeah. If I react, then it's fine. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so next time we see you guys is on Friday for the Q&A on the Awakening Curriculum YouTube channel. It's for members only. If you're not a member, you can still ask your question in Discord. Under the thread that is called Q&A Friday Q&A.
Friday Q&A question.
You can ask your question there, and then we will read your question and answer it as well. Otherwise, you can participate live on YouTube.
Yes.
I think that was it.
I think so. So anybody in the US, have a very happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. And for everybody who are not in the US, have a great week.
Yes. Just another week.
Just another week. Thank you so
Thank
much, you guys.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.